What is up, everybody coming in? If you have questions for Jimmy, please shoot in. Hey! What's up, Jimmy?
What's up, guys?
So you can multitask with tattooing and everything?
We're gonna see. We're gonna see how well it goes.
What are you tattooing right now, by the way?
Homie of mine's got some old school line work that was on his stomach that I had an open day today, so we're just kind of filling in some stuff on him.
Stomach. That's
Yeah, some little, just
it's not
some little black and gray stuff, you know. Nothing new school, but some good fun, still fun tattoos.
So I don't really think you need an introduction, but still, please introduce yourself to everybody, to the Instagram live world.
My name is Jime Litwalk. I tattoo at Ascension Tattoo out of Orlando, Florida. Originally from Detroit, moved to Vegas for a few years, and now I reside here.
You were in Vegas before?
Yeah, I was in Vegas for like 6 years.
How long have you been now in Orlando for?
4 years, just over 4 years.
It's like right when you start, around the same time you were in your season, you started in Orlando, or?
Actually, how it happened was the process started when I was in Vegas, but after like a month or 2 months living in Orlando is when I left for the first time.
Oh, everybody who's joining in, if you do have questions, please shoot them in. I'll try to get as many questions in as possible. He's also tattooing, and then I also have questions for the general public that I think we all would like to know. So I know you're one of the godfathers of new school. So when did you start doing new school, and how was the process of starting a genre that was literally new to the scene?
First, I don't know about being, godfather of new school. I think there's definitely a lot of guys that I would tip my hat to way before me, before that whole thing is. I think I was probably maybe one of, I could say, maybe about 9 solid dudes that I think kind of were lucky enough that kind of helped push that along the way when it started. Because, when I started tattooing, it really wasn't like genres of tattooing. It was just tattooing. You either wanted to tattoo the color or didn't. What is that?
Like, how long have you been, how long have you been tattooing for?
This November will be 25 years.
All right, so well, yeah, 25 years ago. Like I just wanted so people know the time frame. So this was 25 years ago.
Yeah, and I think in the early 90s is when really I think you started to see the spike of like actual styles, I guess, if you will. Like, like everything, a long time ago, it used to be easy to say genre of music you liked. It was either country, rock, or something. Like nowadays, it's like, tell me what kind of music you listen to. It's, country is like rap. Rap music is, pop. It's there's like a million and fucking one different styles. Just like tattooing now. It's like you can't. It's you almost have to say what period you're talking about when it comes to like what style you do. Like me, I'm the old new school tattooer.
Yeah. So how did you get? So I already know I have a Twitch. So sometimes like when I'm speaking, my Twitch happens. I was actually gonna become a tattoo artist. I had an apprenticeship lined up, but I respectfully declined it because I didn't want to, like, I can control my Twitch when I get tattooed, but I didn't want my Twitch to go off on somebody when I was tattooing. It didn't make ethical sense to me. So
that's okay. Maybe you could create your own style of tattooing.
Oh, I do like. I found out that I forgot his name, but I found that one artist who was on Inkmaster. I think it's called Lyme disease. I don't want to sound right or wrong, but like his hand shakes, like only his hands, like when he tattoos. Like I think I forgot which one. Like he has to tattoo like this, so he can do it. It's just, yeah. So if you see it, I'm good. So when you started doing it, what made you like get into that style of art to do tattooing?
I don't know. Your audio is cutting in and out. I couldn't hear.
For the new school, what made? Because you were 25 years ago, so what drew you into that style of like cartoonish, animated style?
Cartooning is something I've always done. That's, but when I started tattooing, I didn't do that style. It was, and this is weird, and it's not taking a shot at anybody that's been tattooing 10 years or less or nothing like that. But when I started tattooing, it was you weren't some custom artist or anything like that. You're a tattooer. Like we had flash and shit like that on the walls or a book. Like we drew a little bit, but it wasn't like we had flash and stuff. We all created flash to
Yeah.
reproduce it. And so people would come in and you did what people wanted. They came in, picked it out of the book, or they brought it in, and that's what you tattooed. Your friends and very quite a few people, like, you altered some things, but it wasn't like it is today, where it's like everyone does their thing.
Yeah.
Back then it was like it was out of the JD Crow book, or Cherry Creek, or a couple of other sets of flash that you had that was laying on the wall. So
So
that's what I did beforehand.
So then, what are the card? So you said you've been doing cartoons for a while. So when did you start to realize that like this is something that people are actually wanting? Because you said you were in where people literally went through a flash book, which not a lot of people do nowadays. But what made you get starting into cartoons and really being like, what, this is what I'm doing? It's either you like it or So when did that really start for you?
Yeah, I would never say that. It's
Well, you do everything.
but I mean, the thing is,
when did new school were dominant for you, where it was something like where you saw like
probably 5 years into tattooing. I would say. Well, I mean, it was different then, like like when I started tattooing, it was like you did like back then, the new school, which was different, like even just something that would just consider like how it was different then, like the newer age stuff was like fine line. Like that was, I remember like when Jack Rudy, Brian Everett, Tom Renshaw, all those guys were like the new age type of art, is because they were doing all this fine line stuff, semi-realism, stuff like that, and I don't remember quite, like it might have been Chris Fouts or something. I remember the first time it was called New School was in an article when they were like, it's not old school, it's because we did, the foundation of New School tattoos is like traditional, bold lines, heavy saturation, very easily readable. But it was you colored in like a portrait style esque, it was just like soft blends and transitions,
Mm-hmm.
So it was like just a mixture of the two types of tattooing that was done then, like you either did soft black and gray, or you got traditional tattoos, that's basically what it was, But I remember when in the early 90s you had, guys like, like different shops and stuff like Little Vinny, Eddie Deutsch, Guy Atchison, I remember when Mario Barth was doing some of the most craziest like drawings that we haven't seen. Bernie Luther, it was like there was a forum of these guys that were doing like biomechanical stuff from Europe. Everything we knew back then, like you waited for tattoo magazines to come out. Like when tattoo magazines come out, that was like the holy grail of like, what the fuck's going on? Like, ooh, like that's like this guy over in California is doing this, or this guy in Atlanta's doing that, or once in a while you see somebody go to a tattoo show over in Europe. Then when I think I started, there was only maybe 9 tattoo conventions in the United States. Now there's like, that's when I first started tattooing. I think there was only like 9 tattoo conventions in the United States. So now there's like 9 every weekend. It's just
so it's really interesting because I'm 26. I got tattoos since I was 16. Not the right way. I mean, I got tattooed out of a house when I first started getting tattooed. But it's super interesting because as the years got on and as my love for tattooing grew, like I do the same thing. Like before, like internet and all this stuff. I mean, even me being young, I would go to Barnes and Nobles and look at the inked magazines and look at the tattoo magazines. And then of course, now with cell phones and the internet, it's everything's like a million times more easier now. But I mean, I can only imagine with like you actually being in the industry and like waiting for that new magazine, like if it's like hot off the press, like for that inspiration or to see how everybody else is doing. It's really cool, like for everybody that it is something. I love to learn the culture because it just makes understanding where we got to now a lot more interesting.
I I do miss a lot of that stuff. I mean, to say, you know, I wouldn't say social media kind of killed that part of it, but I think it really it's kind of a double-edged sword. You know, I think it took a lot of the, I don't want to say the passion away from that drive of wanting something. Like then when you wanted something, you convinced one of your fucking buddies to take a road trip with you. You guys got in a fucking car and you drove across the city, across town, across the country. You bought yourself a plane ticket and you went and found what was going on. You know, like now if you want to see what's going on in Russia, you just fucking grab your phone and like, hey, this is what's happening. You know, it's
exciting because it was like a limited resource. So it was like it was kind of like a destination where it was like you wanted it so bad. So like the only way to get it was, like you said, getting a plane ticket, doing a road trip. So it was probably more of exciting back then because it wasn't so easy to grab or to obtain.
Well, I think it's one of those things that help create memories of shit, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's, you know, then it was too, it's like, it wasn't really like we wouldn't make appointments, you know? Like you got tattooed. Like if you wanted to get tattooed by somebody in Connecticut and you lived in Detroit, you fucking got in your car, you drove out there and you fucking waited for the shop to open up and go, hey, any open time today? Nope, not today. Well, fuck, you go get a hotel room and you come back tomorrow. You know, like now it's like, hey, can I get in your books for fucking in 2 years from now? You know, shit's just different, you know? Not that it's a bad thing. It's just, it was a huge evolution of tattooing since I started.
I can't imagine. I mean, I honestly can't imagine driving somewhere and then them tell me no, and then I'm like, damn, I gotta get a hotel for like a week to get in. Which, I mean, it makes the tattoo more of a moment, like you said, more of a memory. Like to wait and get it. I mean, like for example, one of my tattoos, I got booked a year in advance. So I was like, all right, you know, when the day came, it wasn't as exciting for me because I've been waiting a whole fucking year. But when you do something like that, that memory, I mean, really sticks in with you, which I understand. Oh, so what I want to ask some of the questions because things blowing up. Somebody way above said, what is to you the most difficult? I mean, if something is difficult, what is the most difficult thing for you to tattoo? Somebody above asked.
What is the most difficult thing to tattoo? A pain in the ass customer, I think. That's probably the most difficult.
I like the twist you put on that.
Yeah, no, you know, I think it just comes down to like, as artists, I mean, we always have up and down days. Like there's days that you feel like you're fucking on and everything's gelling. Your chemistry between you and your client fucking connect, and you know, it makes for a good tattoo. And some days you're just kind of off and it's like you can't nail the drawing down, or maybe your vision of something and what the client's vision is just completely different. So you're just constantly fucking drawing, you know. I think it just, you know, the difficulty comes down to like, I think it just comes down to like, you know, per individual, you know.
So that, which is a question that I have, but it leads in perfectly. So I mean, on Inkmaster, you dealt with a lot of those type of clients. And unfortunately, it wasn't your shop, so you couldn't tell them no. You had to do it per the show.
All right, I'm going to try to answer this as best as I can without.
No, this is not about
bashing. This is
just talking.
No, because I mean, at a certain point, like there's certain things that it's like it's TV is TV. You know, like it's Inkmasters it's an entertainment.
Yeah.
It just happens to be about an industry that I'm in. Like when you're tattooing on a TV show, like they're not asking you nothing no different that anyone who's ever fucking started in a shop to do. You know, you're given 6 hours to do a tattoo. That's not a fucking that's a pretty good chunk of time. Like you should be able to come up with something that's going in and dealing with, you know, ornery customers. Like that's the entertainment of it. Like if anyone has ever fucking stepped foot in a tattoo shop, we all know that it's not that fucking always that crazy shit always going on. But you do have that wily haired fucking customer that comes in that just you fucking can't please, or that is just off their fucking rocker. That's where the entertainment comes in. You know, it's like you need that to fucking keep ratings up. But I mean, you go on there, they're not really asking you something so crazy that you can't do in every day in a normal fucking tattoo shop, you know?
I mean, you can tell that when they like, I don't know how they pick their, I mean, I know there's a website, but like they definitely pick a few canvases that they know they're off their rocker just for the entertainment value of the show.
Well, yeah, you have to. I mean, because if everything runs smoothly, then then there's really not a good show. Like I mean, it'll cater to the people who watch it for the artwork, but I mean, we don't make up that genre of entertainment. Like,
No.
people want to see the fucking craziness. People want to see people lose their fucking minds. It's like cops. Like, I don't want to hang out with a crackhead, but if you want me to fucking watch you chase him down and beat the shit out of him, I'll watch that. Like, that's the entertainment of it,
So you've been on two seasons of Inkmaster. One where you were the finalist, which that was the first controversial one where I really didn't agree on the winning of that season, which was a really hard finale though. That freaking chess piece was. I would rock that shit. I don't even like that. I mean, I don't even like for the idea that they had. I wasn't the biggest fan of, but I would rock that in a heartbeat. Like, cause what was the eagle, the snake, and what was the third one?
Yeah, it was like a battle royale. Yeah.
And you actually did it like a battle royale on the man's chest, stomach, which I just wanted to. I mean, if I ever spoke to you, which I'm glad I can now. I personally thought you should have won that season. That was one of the hardest pieces they've had in these 10 seasons coming. So I just wanted to say you did that piece was phenomenal.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I mean, I mean, we're in a subjective industry. People are going to like what they like. I think on every season, every time they've chosen a winner, I think it can become controversial. You could have said that person shouldn't have been in the finals in the first place, or, like, that tattoo is better than that tattoo. It kind of fluctuates sometimes between, what the rules are, what they're supposed to be doing. There's just certain things that I think, it's hard for me to call it because I'm not one of the judges. I wasn't paid to do that. It just comes down to that's what my opinion is. I think, there's been some pretty foul ones.
I mean, how really was it? Like, what was your? I mean, you were on two different. So, how was your experience in Inkmaster? I mean, I believe it was season 3 and then season 7.
Yeah.
So, like, were they like? How was it like the first time and then the second time? Like, if you can like shed light on it in your own.
I'm just reading some of the comments on the bottom. It's pretty funny. I'm sorry. What was that again?
No, yeah, I saw. There's a lot of good stuff coming in. So you being on season 3 and season 7, how was it coming in the first time and how was it coming in the second time? Like, if you can just like share your own experience from like, if the seasons were the same for you, were they different for you?
Completely different. And what I think it is too is that, when I was in Vegas, we filmed a couple of TV shows there before, so I thought I had an idea of what TV was like. And when you get on a show like Inkmaster, you learn so much about television that I had no fucking clue. And what people are really watching, it takes us 3 to 4 days to film one episode. So basically what you're watching is 42-minute sound bites of what happens in that amount of time. And every year I think they become, they get better and smoother at how they create the television storyline. I think on season 3 is when they really kind of got their formula, kind of nailed down on how they want to be able to coach things and, get things out of people. It was a real stressful environment. It was crazy. I mean, I don't regret it or anything like that, but there was a whole lot more that goes into television that I never knew about.
Like for people, because I mean, when I interview a lot of the Inkmaster contestants, it's a lot more stressful. I would never even thought of, like, they block your windows, you can't like use your phones at points, and you can't watch TV. Like, it's like a boot camp, like in there.
It is. The thing is too is that a lot of my experience that I've had on season 3, and only people from that season will understand, like, we had like different producers and different people that worked on that show. There's a lot of different things that kind of coincide behind the scenes that kind of has an effect to what you get to witness. On my season, we weren't allowed to have our cell phones or computers or any of that stuff. We got that shit to us like maybe once every 2 weeks. You know, now you talk to someone now, and they're like, they get their phones every night at the end of filming. You know, back then they used that shit as like a bargaining chip. Like, you know, when I first went on the show, you know, I got there and
family.
that's the thing is like, you know, I traveled a lot before the television show, so it's like, no matter where I'm at on this planet, you know, I'll call home and talk to my kids and say goodnight. You know, if not every night, every other night.
Yeah.
And when I got there, they're like, you know, give us your phones, give us your computers, and, you know, you got to turn them in. I'm like, all right, well, when do we get them back? They're like, we don't know. I'm like, well, hold on, I gotta call my kids tonight. You know, they're like, no. You're like, what the fuck you mean no? Like,
yeah,
I don't get to call my family. They're like, no, you should have read the fine print. You're like, what the hell? You know, and so I think that's kind of what it becomes like this psychological thing where, you know, like if you're tattooing all day and you've had a hard day, like nothing's really that bothersome to you. Like you're all right. You know, like you can call home, calm yourself down, talk to a loved one or your homie to kind of just put things into perspective for you. But if you're filming all fucking day, you know, your eating habits are fucked up, you haven't talked to your loved ones or nothing like that, things that normally wouldn't bother you on the end of a work day, you know, 4 or 5 days later, now you're stressed the fuck out. You're on edge. And so, like, if someone says something, like you snap and you get a bigger reaction or a bigger kind of an emotion, like a reaction to like a situation. So like you're projecting your kind of like maybe you're ornery, you're angry or something onto someone else that didn't deserve it, but that's what they were looking for, you know?
They're like, it's like poking the bit, like, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's funny because there's a girl.
They're like instigators, yeah.
But it really is like poking the bear, though. It's like you're gonna get that bite if you keep doing it.
Well, that's what they want, you know. They don't want to see you fist fight, but they want you to go nose to nose.
Oh, anybody who's tuning in, if you do have a question for Jimmy, please do ask. We're both reading it. When he's talking, I'm also reading to see if I can point out another question that's not of mine. So if you do have a question for Jimmy, please do it. Now's the time throughout this so we can ask any questions you have. While people started doing that, I want to know, what was the hardest challenge that you think you had to face on the show? Not like when it came to stressful, but like actual, like either a flash challenge or a client, or just what was the hardest challenge like per Inkmaster that you had to deal with?
I think probably one of the hardest things that I had to deal with on Inkmaster had nothing to do with tattooing. Yeah, we had I want to say it was like the 8th or 9th episode. We did this dog tag challenge. This engraving, we engraved dog tags.
I remember that one.
That was probably
really emotional.
For me, was one of the most hardest ones. I think just when you listen to those people's stories, it was like heart-wrenching, man. Like it's just, you know, I've been there for, you know, 2 months and I'm bitching about, you know, not being able to get proper sleep and, you know, fucking, you know, getting, you know, food or being able to talk to my family.
Yeah,
and then you have the individuals that come on there and they tell you these fucking stories, and I'm like, the fuck am I complaining about? You know, like I got nothing to complain about. So shit gets put into perspective quick.
Like, I saw, like, in your emotion, like a lot of people, I mean, I don't want to speak anybody that, but some people you can tell they were faking their, like artists were faking their emotion, but you had a genuine, like, your shit was real. Which I mean, I remember that episode perfectly. Like, you guys went on the naval cruise ship, like the naval huge ship, and you guys had.
Yeah, we were on the back of the Intrepid. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that episode, and like that was probably one of the. And now they're utilizing me more for ratings, which really pisses me off. Like if you watch, have you ever seen Ink Angels? Like every episode they have like some touching story, which shouldn't be like that because people's personal life, for them to come on TV and to share that with you and with the world, it's a lot. And for now,
well, here's what bothered me about that challenge. I had that same outlet going into it, and the guy who I actually who I did the dog tag challenge, you know, for basically he could see how upset I was, because to me, at my outlook, I looked at it was like we were taking these people's very personal stories about, you know, losing family members, loved ones, and stuff like that, you know, and you know, I looked at it like, you know, this is just for ratings. Like people are just trying to do this for fucking, you know, like the wow factor. And basically the guy come to me and he's like, look, man, he's like, we're just trying to get our story out there. Maybe this will help somebody. It'll touch somebody that will understand our point of view, you know, and it just comes down to perspective, you know, where it's, they were trying to explain to someone else maybe that was going through a very hard time that there's help out there. I mean, that was all done for, you know, it was kind of like how Wounded Warriors was. There's like, it was like the Intrepid Foundation. It was to show someone else maybe that was going through those same stories that there's help out there, that they could find help, that they don't have to just sit there and try to battle, you know, their depression alone, that there's people there that can help them out, you know. And that was the vehicle of television to help spread their word about their charity and their stories to kind of let people know. So for me, I looked at it like a completely different view of like, it's just us trying to create artwork, you know, for ratings for some people that's pretty heavy stories. They looked at it like, man, you're just creating some artwork for us trying to get a bigger message out there for something completely different. So for me, I was like, okay, I get it. You know, like,
now like, I understand a lot more too on that now.
It was a teeter-totter thing. You know, it's like the TV used it for the entertainment value, but they used it to help get their message out there to let people know that there's a foundation that can help people out, you know? So it was, it definitely was, it was interesting to see how my emotions got the better of me to not really see the bigger picture, you know? So like, when it came to the actual challenge part of it, to me, that was the biggest one, was that, you know, for people who don't really understand a lot of that stuff, is like we were just creating a little bit of artwork for some entertainment, but it was why we were creating that stuff, you know. So for me, it was like, man, I don't want to fuck this piece of artwork up, because it's just to me, it's, some people look at it like it's just a trinket, it's just a thing, but it's like, if someone's going to come to me and give me that story and allow me to be a part of that story in their life, like I owe it to them to try to give it my best as I possibly can. But you look at it like, you know, I was not a lot of sleep, you know, we're on the back of a fucking, you know, a ship that's, you know, like you looked at it like you didn't see it, but it was like 48, you're like 46, it was like in the 40s, low 40s on the back of this ship with the wind blowing and stuff. It's like we were fucking freezing, we had to act like it wasn't, you know. But
just act like you're not like cold as shit right now.
Act like I can't feel my fingertips, you know. We're supposed to sit here with this little engraver and try to niche in this little, you know, on this dog tag for these people, you know. So it was one of those things. It was, you know, hearing some of their stories kind of touched home on some personal things for me, and to create something like that, I think, yeah, if, you know, as a short story, I think like when it came to like the hardest challenge that I think I had to do, that was it. It was that one.
And honestly, I don't really think you're gonna give a better answer than that. Because when I was literally all about perspective, when I answered that question, I thought you were gonna answer like, "Oh, this challenge was hard." But from hearing what you just said about that, I probably would have. Now thinking about the episode, I think that probably was the hardest too, because not only do it at home, but you're doing something for somebody that it's really personal. Tattoos are personal, but that is like an extra layer of personal.
Yeah,
I mean, all that.
You know, and it goes out to, you know, any person that's in the military forces, anybody that's helping protect this country, that has a loved one or anything out there. I mean, that's you know, not to get into any political shit, because I keep that shit, you know, very, like, I don't like talking publicly about all that shit, you know, like, people are gonna have their own stories and everything like that. You know, for me, it was just very touching to be a part of that episode. Like, it was the hardest thing, but it was the one I was most proud of being on, was that episode.
That's awesome. To get on a lighter note for everybody, it gets deep in these interviews. Oh, real quick, the platform of this, I do watching. I live in Cold Springs, which is really close to Parkland, in the whole, and I'm like neighboring cities of Parkland. So just, yeah, it does hit home in these situations and the thing that just happened. So just all about that: spread kindness, spread love. But to the next one, I'm looking through this. There's two questions. I mean, quickly on this. Someone said, Troy, how did you get so good at creating new school characters? Which more on how did really more on what I want to twist that up. What derived your art more to get into that style of new school? Or you just always drew like cartoon style stuff?
No, I mean, animation has always been like a passion of mine. Like when I was a kid, my childhood dream was to be an animator. Like I wanted to draw like cartoons, you know. For me, it's something that I enjoy doing more because you know, I have respect for all forms of art. You know, it's just on a personal thing. I don't find a lot of personal joy in just reproduction. Like, that's a whole nother skill in itself to where you have to create something that you've already seen, you know. But a lot of times, I mean, there's very few people out there that I think are like Nico Hurtado, you know, Roman, you know,
Yeah.
Carlos Rojas, you know, Carlos Torres, like the guys that you can tell, like, I don't need to see the name underneath the Instagram photo to know who did that portrait, you know. Like when you get like Steve Butcher and so like you know who done that portrait, you know. But the other people, like, there's still great people out there, they're great artists out there, but it's like unless I see the name, I don't know who did it. But if it's like when it comes to like new school, like I don't need to see Jesse Smith's name underneath the photo to know he did it. I don't need to see the name underneath a Timmy B, you know, tattoo to know that Timmy did it. You know, Kelly Doty, like those people have such a unique style that's like their thumbprint. You know, it's like people do stuff like that, but it's not that exact. Like those things to me, I find a lot more enjoyment in because it's like it's such an individual style of artwork. So like when I draw new school, it's like I don't even really think it's like a genre of anything. It's just I just try to create drawings and tattoos that I enjoy, and I'm lucky and fortunate enough that people, you know, like it as well. You know. I mean, it's not for everybody. People like what they like, but, you know, I think people, you know, are drawn towards some things that are a little bit more individualized, you know, something that not everyone exactly has, you know?
As a gift. That's true. Like a lot of artists, like when I see something, I'm like that's Katie. Like when we were doing the Bowman interview, I just saw a little piece on the wall, and I was like, "Hey, did Dave Tevin do that?" And he was like, "Yeah." And it was, it's like I literally just saw like a piece of it. So I mean, the same thing with you. Like when I see the art, even if I don't see a name, I'm like, "That's Jimmy. That's this. That's this." So I think it's cool that you made such a form to your art that when, like you said, when you put it out there, someone doesn't need to see a name because they know your style.
Yeah.
I think that's actually a great thing for any artists who are trying to stand out. You know, do something that's so unique to you that even if someone doesn't know your name, they know your art, which I think that speaks louder. I'd rather know somebody know my work than know my name. Like knowing your name is nothing if they don't know your actual compiled work.
But I think that also comes with learning the fundamentals. It's like you have to know the rules so you can break the rules. You know, a lot of times that people are wanting to break into tattooing, want to be this custom artist so fast. But I think it's important to learn the basic fundamentals of just doing a solid tattoo first, then like work on creating like your own individual style and stuff like that. Because I mean, not everyone's going to like your stuff. Like when it comes to like tattooing, it's like you should be versatile enough and to being able to help cater to whatever walks in the door, you know?
So what is your, so actually the great transition. So I know a lot of tattoo artists are coming in and out of this. What is your advice, or for anybody who's either new to tattooing or wants to start tattooing, or even somebody who's been tattooing for a few years, what is, I mean, you have a lot of experience under your belt. What is some advice or tips or you can give to these, you know, the new generation of tattoo artists?
Quit. Just go into computers, man. I don't know, man. I think I think it all comes down to the individual. There's no mayor, there's no lawyer, there's no law of like who should start tattooing, who shouldn't tattoo, you know? I think when it comes, you know, the only advice I could say to anyone that's trying to come into it is don't make it a hobby. You know, make this your passion. Like whatever you do, give it 100%, man. Like engulf yourself, you know, learn your roots, you know, not just, you know, absorb as much as you can about the people that came before you. and to figure out, like getting a good solid foundation of like the history of tattooing, maybe the history in the area that you're tattooing in, or the style of tattooing that you're wanting to get into. I think it's important to learn like a lot of, learn about the people that have helped pave the way for you to even have the ability to have it easier to even get into. Like when it's, like now, the information is so open, so free that you can just easily, I mean, fuck you, you can buy a
YouTube.
tattoo shop, online in a fucking day and just be a tattoo shop owner. Back then it's like I had to, beg somebody that would vouch for you to be able to put your name on a list that you could even buy ink from, like it was the information and, even just the supplies back then were so hard to obtain, and the guys that helped create all that information, I think it, a lot of those guys kind of like, there's always more every day of new people getting into it. But I think people really need to learn and pay homage to the people, that kind of help break that stuff into it. I'm not saying you got to run around and start sucking everyone's dick or anything like that, but at least fucking older people enough to at least know who helped, get into what you're doing,
Funny thing is, I think that's like art in general. Like I grew up doing graffiti, and the people that mentored me said that like, you can't just go and paint something without knowing where where it came from. Like tattooing, every art form has rules, has stuff, and the more you know, the better respected you get. So even before I actually started painting on a wall, like people who mentored me got me really like to divulge in the culture to know why am I even doing graffiti? Like it's something that really is passionate to me, and I think you said it yourself. Like if you're gonna be tattooing and to know the culture, it gives you more of a reason to want to tattoo. I mean, even learning a lot from you right now, it gives me more of a fire to just keep doing what I'm doing because I want to open up a shop next year in South Florida, and that's the thing. Like since I'm not a tattoo artist, it's people might be a little bit biased, but I'm just trying to show that I have the love and the knowledge, and knowing my culture is like another thing. Like I believe respect from the ground up is how it happens. So for artists that's on here, I mean, I agree with you 100% on that. That you need to know the culture and the history before you can even break the rules.
Well, I mean, what it comes down to is, I have no problem with a non-tattooer owning a shop, as long as your artist and your client's interest is best at hand. Like it's just creating an environment that's going to be beneficial to the industry. Don't be just a person that just takes. Do something where you create that you give back. It's the same people. Like I think, as an artist, someone who tattoos every day, I think you should give back to your industry. Like draw something, create artwork, put things out there that will help inspire someone else. Like to me, that's giving back. Like help create something along the ways to where people can find inspiration from it. I'm not saying you got to give all your information away, but I mean, when it's appropriate when someone's asking you a genuine question about wanting to help better themselves. Like don't throw the dude shade. Help him or her. With trying to find like, hey man, this is, I'm not saying that I know a lot more than you, but I just fucked up a whole lot more to find an easier answer for you. So it's being able to kind of help, just help give the industry a better structure on being able to, let it grow as we go along.
That's why I love these interviews because, I have a whole YouTube page where I need to start promoting almost on my interviews, so it's an archive. So when people, it's awesome because I love being able to create this content. So if somebody who's new, they can literally go to the interview after on YouTube and really listen to what you're saying, or even somebody a year from now can go back and listen to this. So you have the same mindset I do with the really creating and leaving it for other people, because at the end of the day, I was raised and learned, treat others the way you want to be treated and do for others the way you want to do for yourself. So that's the same thing that I'm trying to install with this. Is I'm doing this not just for me, but for anybody who enjoys your work, wants to learn more, has questions. I mean, I think this is an awesome platform, especially now with social media. I mean, literally, someone can I DM'd you, and I was able to reach you. So I think another thing for everybody. I mean, don't be afraid to ask questions.
I don't know if you can hear me, man, but your whole screen is pixelating. I couldn't hear. Your audio's out.
I really do believe there really is no stupid question, but the question that you did not ask. Because that's the way. Everybody else probably heard me. Jimmy, you earned your doctors. And your...
I can't hear. It's like your whole thing is frozen up.
Hold on, let me try.
Sorry.
Man.
Now?
Yeah.
Let me see.
It's better now?
One second. Let me see. Maybe it's my thing is kind of frozen up over here.
For everybody listening, is it good on our side? Is it my side bad? Is his side bad? I just threw on my connection was pretty good, but can you hear me now?
Yeah.
That was weird. Yeah, because I was able to hear you the whole time. All right, so
yeah, I don't know.
So somebody asked, quick, who are the people that you learned from?
The people that I learned from, my apprenticeship. I did my apprenticeship under a guy named Chuck Grew, back in Detroit.
Very simple one today. I'm just reading all the questions because we have a lot of people that came in here. Oh, Signac technology had made drawing easier or more complicated?
I can't hear. What was that again?
A gentleman asked, do you think that more complicated?
It's again, I'm catching like the last part of that. I don't know what's going on. Sorry, man.
The shop's Wi-Fi. All right, do you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. Do you think technology has made drawing easier or more complicated? Somebody just asked that.
I don't know. It's kind of weird. I think I don't think it's made it anything more complicated. I think it just comes down to finding out what works for you.
I agree with that as well because I think with using the iPad and using pencil, it's made drawing. I think if you draw with iPad pencil, sometimes like I've seen where you draw one line, and if you're doing like a mandala, it'll already draw it on every single side for you.
I mean, it's like the tools have definitely made it easier for our industry, but you still have to do it. Like when it comes to drawing, I think like using computers and stuff like that. Like it's something that I definitely think it is beneficial in a sense, but if you're like me, I think it is hard to kind of shy away from something that I think is going to help your industry out. What did Tom say? How do I find a way to balance work and home life? Is that what he wrote?
Yeah, he said, but he was seriously asking that though.
Honestly, man, I think it's hard, man. When you find a partner, I think that it becomes easier. Maybe the stories I think are a little bit more easier that if you were already a tattooer before your relationship started, they kind of know what they're getting into. If you start a relationship before and they became a tattoo artist afterward, I think it's really hard to kind of understand what really goes into what our every day-to-day life is, and as artists just in ourselves, we take things so much personal, and I think we really kind of it's difficult to just deal with artists in themselves, just on an emotional basis. But having dealing with the family and dealing with this career, it's a hard teeter-totter, because it's one of those things like if you're at work and trying to concentrate so hard on your career, you're neglecting your home life. But if you're doing so much at your home life, it seems like you're neglecting your career. It's really hard to find that balance to give each one its own time, because you gotta be able to work and make a name for yourself and a living so you could provide for the people at home. But if you're not concentrating on your home life, you're really missing out on a lot of fucking things that you're really working hard for. You know, it's I don't think it's ever gonna, you know, it's a 60-40, man. Someone's always gonna get shorted. There's gonna be a point to where you're gonna neglect your work life because you're concentrated on your home life, and your home life is gonna fucking have to take a second, you know, a sidestep to doing the things that are gonna help, you know, be able to provide for them. You know, I think it's going to come down to it's like a roller coaster, man. There's never no really easy time on being able to balance those two things out. I think honestly, someone's going to get shorted, you know, but I think what it is just that to pay attention to when it is that you don't lean so hard on one side more than the other. I think you got to be able to kind of know when you've got to cut back on one so you can provide for the other. I mean, having a family, being a tattooer is hard, man. I don't think that it's ever an easy task.